Hey everybody, Fearless Front here, coming at you today with the Racing Lawnmower update number 5. In today's video we're going to concentrate on trying to mount the rear axle. We've got the axle flanges here all marked and ready to go on for welding. I just got to grind the back sides down. We've got the frame all marked up, ready for lining them up. It's really important that we make sure that we get everything perfectly flat and perfectly even with the front axle, because if you don't, you'll have a strange crab walk situation when you're driving your go-kart, and that's obviously not a good thing. So like I said, I've got both the left and the right sides marked. You can see the frame is also marked with a little cross. That's going to help me get all of this, line those lines up with those lines, and that'll help me get everything perfectly flat. Got to make sure to use our square here to get everything right. Here's our new axle, 1/4-inch keyway, our new bearings, and yeah, it looks like we're pretty much ready to go. Right, so as you can see, we've got both sides ground down there. They're pretty much ready to be mounted to the frame, and the way we're going to do this is I'm just going to tack weld the bottom side into place so I can make sure the angle, I guess side to side angle, is exactly 90 degrees with that other side. So one more really important thing to do after you get your first flange welded and your second one kind of locked into place with a clamp here is to take your tape measure and make sure that both of your axle flanges are exactly the same distance from the front axle. And we do that to prevent any crab walking. You can see this one is at 34 and this one is also at 34. So it looks like we're all set. Okay, so now that the other side here is tack welded into place, we're going to again take our square and double check both sides to make sure everything's all good and square. This one's got to come out a little bit. That side's good. Let's check this other side one more time. Looks like we're all set. So both sides are now welded fully on. Everything's straight. We didn't weld the inside edges right there because what we're going to do there is take this piece of box steel and cut some little 45-degree gussets to put on the inside edges of both sides of these axle flanges to avoid lateral movement. So here we've got our 4 little gussets, 2 per side, and I got to clean them up a little bit with the grinder. They're still kind of hot, but the idea is that they're going to go in just like that, right there on either side. You can see what kind of support that will lend. There's the last one, number 4. So now that they're all cleaned up, they fit pretty good. You can see that I still have plenty of access to my holes up here for my axle bearings. And we did the same thing over here on this side. and everything looks pretty good. So we're gonna go ahead and tack weld these things into place, check everything one more time, and weld them in solid. So we've tack welded in. Everything still looks good. Checked all the measurements. Everything still looks like it's in line. And we're gonna go ahead and weld these suckers all the way in now. So you can see now we've got our little supports welded in. I intentionally didn't weld those inside corners on the tops because I was afraid that they would come into contact with my bearing flanges when I bolt those in, so I wanted to save myself the headache. Did the same thing on this side, all welded in. Also went ahead and plug welded the bolt holes I knew I wasn't going to need. I need that one there and those two up there. So the next step is I've got to drill out these bolt holes as straight as humanly possible on both sides and wire brush the whole thing down. Okay, so to drill these holes we're going to use a 5/32 drill bit, and we're going to drill our pilot hole with that, and then we're going to move up to the 5/16, which is the size of the actual bolt hole. There. Pilot hole is done. And now we're going to drill with the 5/16 bit. Beautiful. So we've got our holes drilled on both sides now. It wasn't too bad. I was expecting it to be a lot worse considering we were drilling through 5 layers of steel, but everything seemed to go okay. Everything looks straight. I need new longer bolts for the bottoms of these axle flanges now that I'm going through like 1.5 inches of steel. But other than that, I think I'm going to let these cool off for the night and come back out here tomorrow and chip away a little more on them. Alright, so it's a new day. I even shaved a little bit so I don't look like a homeless person working on my lawnmower here. But as you can see, I wire brushed everything down on the axle flanges, so they're looking a little bit better than they were. Next step is going to be grinding down these plug welds that I've done here, and that's so my new bearing mounts will fit flush against the steel. So we are all nice and cleaned up. I did a little bit of grinding on these welds on the other sides as well, just to make them a little prettier, not so chunky. Still got some slag pieces in there to clean up, but I'll get all that at the end. I still have tons of slag up in there to clean out and everything from welding this steering support together. I'm just going to wait till the very end after everything's all done welded before I actually go through and really clean this frame. But both sides are done. I need to get my new bolts, and just for fun I say we try to just mount this axle in there just with 2 bolts on each side just to see how it fits. So there it is. 2 bolts per side right now because I don't have my long bolts for the bottom, but everything seems to go together really well. I got a nice little gap there between the bottom of the axle shaft and the frame. About as little of a gap as I'd want, but the reason I kept it so close is I need it to line up with those front spindles. You can see when you look at this frame pretty much level here that we are damn close. We're looking at, you know, this bar here, which is the rear axle, and that bar there, which is the front spindle. And actually they are even. It doesn't look like it is, but when you stand back you can see that it's actually pretty well lined up, which is exactly what we wanted. One more little update on the little gas can here for my racing lawnmower. I tried to do the old hook your welder up to extension cords and weld the thin metal trick, and it sort of worked but sort of didn't. So I've got a lot of little holes in this thing now, and I might have created more problems than I originally had, where I should have just probably got it brazed. You can see the inside there. So I will probably end up buying a new gas tank, it looks like. But if any of you guys have a gas tank that looks similar to this, with the fuel cap, doesn't have to have these nutserts in it because I can put those in myself. But the measurements are 3 inches by 5 inches by 9 inches, I believe. And you could go probably an inch larger in any direction or smaller. I don't need a huge gas tank, but I'm definitely willing to buy and pay shipping if someone's got something like this. Hopefully a wide fuel cap, that's what I want. I don't want a narrow fuel cap like that one. I've already got this other gas tank, but I don't really like it, so I'm probably not going to use it. But something, it has to be kind of low profile, looks like that. Hopefully screw-in bottom so I can put a drain petcock in there, but you know, something similar to this. If anyone's got anything, you know, send me a private message, let me know, and we can work something out. I'll buy it from you, pay shipping, whatever. So that's pretty much it for this week's video, you guys. I know it doesn't seem like much mounting the rear axle there, but it is a lot of work making sure everything goes in absolutely perfectly. And there's a lot that's based off where that rear axle is located, like the brakes, the sprocket, the seat upright support. So now that I've got this axle in place, I can concentrate on other things. Next week's video, I'm probably going to try to mount the motor. Now that I got my Comet clutch, I can check clearances for that. Update on the Comet clutch is the driven pulley was actually warped, so I had to send it back for a replacement. So I'm waiting for that right now, so hopefully I get it back soon. But that's pretty much it for this week's video. If you guys liked it, you know, please rate it up. It definitely helps, you know, pay some of the bills here and helps get things moving along a little bit quicker for me. So thank you for that. And yeah, we'll see you next week.